Hey everybody, and we're back for another episode of Relationship Wednesday. We come again. It's about relationship management. Okay, just keys to try to navigate our relationships. And so we're talking about fatherhood. We're going down a lot of rabbit trails, thanks to Mike, which is all right. We're taking a lot of different rabbit trails, and so we just let the current take us where it goes, sort of like a sailor. We just take where the wind takes us, I guess. Yep. And so, and seeing how we're, flowing a little bit on some of these things. So let's just recap a little bit on where we are, because I opened up talking about how, God set it up for men to be the structure in the home and the stability. And where we talked about how a lot of times for us to be effective in that, it requires men to be able to have that self-management. And where Mike was sharing how just the pressures and the stress of just dealing with the normal things sometimes can get built up, and then like, okay, well, how do I keep myself good so I can be that structure for my family, be that stability. And that's pretty much the road we've been going down. And so another key point that we talked about, which I classify as the father wound. And so one thing I want to say about that, I think it's kind of connected. We can't unpack both of them, totally unpack it in one session. Mm-hmm. But the main thing is that, okay, so for me, it's on a deep psychological level. And a lot of people may not realize it, but you first have to know your value if you're going to be open to trusting somebody. See, sometimes the reason why we don't trust because we don't think people will see the value in us. Because you never, it's like we don't say it outwardly, but it's sort of like the unspoken mindset that if my father didn't see the value in me.
Right. I picked that up late, but yeah.
Yeah. then how would you see the value in me? And a lot of times, and once that value button has been tampered with, it's hard because you're wrestling with, do you really see my value? Do you really care? Like, am I really worth it to you to make that investment?
To your point, my bad.
Go ahead. No.
To your point, I would tell people all the time, they would say, why your kids love you so much? They were like, Coach Gunny. I take them home, do all this stuff, buy them stuff. And I would tell them, like, new coaches would come and they would try to get the same response that I would get. And they just be yelling. Like, no, they're not going to respond to you because they don't even know that you care. Like, you just got here. And you have to invest enough in someone to say, I don't want nothing from you. I just want the best out of you. And I just want to make sure whoever you become a better version of that, so you can contribute not just to the team but to society. You can be a great husband, a great father. And once they see, like, oh, this dude actually cares about me, now I'll run through a wall for him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then that's how that was like, and it wasn't like a trick or nothing. It's just like, I love the sport so much, but I also understand the athlete. And understanding myself, I knew in order for me to actually appreciate my coach, I had to know one, and then this is a little higher level, but I had to know that he knew what he was talking about.
Right.
And whatever I did was going to make me a better person.
Yeah, I got
So when you break it down on a younger level, if I don't have a father, first, before I even need to know what you know, I need to know that you care. So if I know you care about me, because I probably haven't gotten it up until this point from a male figure. Now this is something, because they used to call me like Pops too, like Pops, older brother, whatever. But now you're somebody that I've missed for 15 years of my life. And now I want to make you proud. You know what I'm saying? So if I know you care about me, I'll do anything for you, because I know you're not doing this because it's transactional. You want the best for me, and in return, I give you the best that I got.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so, yes, and so you see that play out. And so I'm saying, so God designed it. That's why he wanted the father and the mother in the home to make those investments, because he understood the mindsets and the perspectives we were going to build and not build from them being there or not being there.
Right.
And saying, but everything's fixable. Sometimes it just takes a little bit more depending on the person. Some people, they've been hurt so deep where they just can't let stuff go, and they're just stuck. But The point is that, you know, for example, like when I studied guys in commitment, like I found out that the reason why men struggle with commitment is not really a commitment issue; it's a value issue. So in other words, you don't think you're worth it. That's why you can't commit to other things around you. In other words, the reason why you would treat a woman bad or treat other things bad around you is because that's what the Bible even says. Like a man, if you mistreat your family, they say it's not them the problem. It's that you don't like yourself. Like just somewhere in me, my value system was so damaged that all I do is go around and hurt other things around me because it's matching and supporting how I see and feel about myself. So meaning that, and a lot of people are not, a lot of guys I found, because of the wound of it and what it did and the repercussions and sometimes the hardships they had to live, they just can't let it go because of how I left them, to where it's like now I can't even forgive my father and let it go. But again, it's not about that. It's about you breaking the cycle, because a lot of times the reason why they treat you like that because they never got their value. So now nobody is restoring their own value back to what it needs, so they can now build a new value system.
The crazy thing about it though, because I know a lot of people like that, because there's work to be done, and it's a little harder because you're dealing with the pain of not having what you thought you deserved, which is like a parent that loves me. It's very easy to use it as a cop-out to not change. Right. You know what I'm saying? So if I can put this pain on you forever, then how I am is just how I am. And you got to accept me as is. But then you still, deep down inside, you're burying this pain and you're giving that person power over you. And now it flows into your family and how you raise your children, because you never was able to forgive your dad or whomever for not being there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the work that like forgiveness is tough. Like
but the root of unforgiveness is the communication of it. So in other words, I'm mad at you because you treated me like I was, junk on the side of a road.
Less than, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. So that's the reason why I associate it with, like I look at the world, they say we got over 1 billion people on the planet.
It's like 7
billion?
Like right.
Okay, so people getting it in all the time. So for this world to be populated.
This is true.
So why would I be mad at you for sleeping with somebody? Because you made a commitment to me. So because you didn't value me, now I'm hurt.
You talking about from like a partner standpoint now.
A relational situation.
Yeah.
I'm just saying why people harbor unforgiveness. In other words, it's not that you slept with somebody.
Or it is. Or it is.
It's not. It's never that. But I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying, because if they wasn't committed to you,
right,
that wouldn't bother you.
Sure.
It's the commitment.
I see what you said. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Outside, yeah.
Right. It's the commitment.
Right.
Like once you made the commitment and you say that you value me in this relationship,
okay,
and you do it, that's what it is. So a lot of times we think it's the action. No, it's when you did it. You basically told me that you didn't think enough of me and us, that you felt like you still had to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm saying isolating it. So in other words, it was a value issue by why I'm mad and I'm struggling to let it go, versus an action issue.
Because I didn't feel as though you valued me enough. Right?
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I'm working through.
Yeah.
So in other words, then especially if somebody say, well, my father didn't value me enough to where he could stay and hang out. And then now you going to not being committed. You know what I'm saying? It creates that cycle. Then now when you don't feel valued, then what do? Then you go out and treat other people less than. And you don't give them their value because you never got your value. So you sowing seeds of no value so in the cycle continues.
So this is the whole hurt people thing.
Yes, exactly. It's
and all, not because I want to, but because I'm not dealing with what's in me. Because out of the heart.
Yes,
flows.
because my value button has never been properly restored in the way I need to be thinking about my own self-worth.
Yeah.
Then now it's hard for me to go in and properly manage and say, okay, this person really cares, this and that. And then sometimes when you don't know your love, now like yourself as a coach, now I'm working super hard to the point where I borderline feel like I'm paying off a debt.
Yep.
That I didn't even create. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So now it's like you got to pay 3 times over what my father's supposed to pay.
Or you relationship wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back to that first scenario, you cheated on me, and then all right, we're done, and now I get into the next relationship, and now you gotta show me that you're trustworthy.
Right.
Passcodes, da. Like I ain't never dealt with none of this, but this is how it starts.
Right.
So how do you heal though? Like from the person who? Well, I guess I do know how you heal.
Well, yes, but that's where it gets interesting. Like to me, only God can really meet that button.
Right,
but if you try to get people to do it, I mean, they can go but so far. But eventually, they'll always be under. What's that?
Remember to answer the last question.
Oh yeah. But I had to come back here first because a lot of times we're trying to do self-management and we're not dealing with the whole issue. The reason why you do self-management is because you love yourself enough to do it.
Yeah.
But
you don't. It's the thing. You gotta know that you're loved.
Right.
by God
For you to even
himself
take
to
the steps
even-
of self-management.
Sure.
A lot of people don't even know that. That's why I don't even take the steps to do it. So I'm saying I wanted to hit this first before we got back to the whole answering the question of self-management, because usually people who don't know their love won't even take the steps of self-management.
Right. Because I think people like. I think people think they love themselves, but they internally they don't. And this is from, like we talk about it all the time. This is who I want to be in life. This is what I want in life. These are the steps to take it, and I take not one step.
It's the bitter approach. What I mean by that is, you don't care about me. I'm about to go out here and basically make myself a success, and I'm gonna dress myself up and be that thing that you make myself good enough to rub it in your face and say, how dare you tell me that I'm not good enough? So in other words, then when the minute somebody criticizes your hard work and building yourself up, they ready to cuss you out and bite your head off. Why? Because the thing I'm using to make myself good enough, you attacked it. So now I'm attacking you.
No, but what about the other, like the opposite side of the spectrum? I want more, but then I don't put in the more that I say that I want. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Like,
that's that's another attribute of it. Because
what is that though? Like, because it's still, and we talk about it, but it's still hard for me to understand. It's like, well, if you want it,
so you don't believe you can have it. Somewhere in me still feels like I'm not good enough to. Because it could be a number of things. Somebody could always told you. You're never going to amount to anything, this and that, or you maybe did some things nobody taught you how to process failures right, and where you just feel like no matter what, I'm just going to fail at it anyway, so I even try. Like all these things sometimes can be, who knows, it's different for different people. But a lot of times that's where we get into these battles with our self-worth and our value, and we build our own mass. That's why Jesus said, who could add 1 cubit to his stature by trying to be, he said, your value don't come from, like, you can add it, but it's not going to truly fix it. It can be a stopgap and it can help some, but it really won't be that true place where you truly learn your value type thing. So, like, I give you a case point. Even if a father is perfect and does everything right, everybody still had that God spot where no matter how perfect I am as a father, you will still need to have a place where only God can feel that says that I'm loved because I know God, not because how well my dad was. Because I've seen people come from perfect homes and still struggle with that, because that's a God need. But people can help, and the parents can give you a head start sometimes. But ultimately, it's a God thing that's going to meet that need. But you got to love yourself enough and know that you're loved enough to be willing to go through the process of self-management, because how I know I'm loved will determine the quality of people I hang around, how well I'm able to pour back into myself, all those type of things. But if I don't even know I'm worth it, I may even know it's there, like you were saying, but won't even take the steps to even grow myself or even take time to pour back into myself.
So to help the person dealing with, I got these big dreams and goals and aspirations, but I never take the step towards achieving them, is one, and if it's going to help me, in the things that I want in life and be who I want to be and set up things for my future, the problem is you got to first know that you are enough and that you are loved and that God is your source.
Yes, and so I would say, yes, sir, people listening, We just gotta tell you by faith, even though you it says rooted and grounded, look up, go beyond our knowledge. One of the very first things I opened up when we talked about the podcast, when we were when I had the terrible lighting, the blinds behind me, and I was breaking that down.
That
but
was crazy.
just want to tell you, this. Listen. That you and I remember hearing for the first time, and my mind was fighting, struggling to get it. And I'm telling you, that's one of the things about the law. See, the law mentality from a church perspective is always you're not good enough, but you got to work to be.
Got to work. Yep.
And I just want to let you know that you are worth it. Whether somebody, if you've never heard it before, you're worth it.
How? Is this the person that's asking you how you?
See, the only way we know that we're worth. In other words, see, the problem is we never saw Jesus die, so we don't know his process. But what decides value? Meaning how much somebody's willing to pay for you. Remember, like real estate. Real estate is only as valuable as the buyer.
Sure.
Because the seller can put the price on the house for a certain price, but that doesn't mean it's going to sell for that. What determines the value of the house? What the buyers are willing to pay for it.
Yeah,
that's the price of the market.
Yeah, drop my rent like $1,000. It's crazy.
Yeah, because of the value, right? So I'm saying that if Jesus died for you, you're worth it. That's what I'm saying, because you wasn't worth bloods of animals.
Yeah.
Animals couldn't redeem you.
Tough.
It took God himself coming into human form to pay for you. So meaning that you're worth it. Like that's always going to be our foundation of understanding that value. But you got to, a lot of times we wasn't there what he did to pay, like to buy us back.
And then if you want to take it from, since we talking about fathers, God sent his only son. And I tell people all the time, I wouldn't send neither of mine for nobody. So the love that you have for your child, think about God saying, yo, this is my only son. I'm gonna send him for you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So if you want to put it into practical, well, not practical, but like the earth terms of sacrificing a child for the life of humanity, then that's how much you've been loved, or that's how much love God has for you.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing we have to realize, it says we have many fathers in the flesh, but we only have one father of spirit.
Sure.
Which means that your parents got you here, but they're not the source of your value, where your true value comes from. Whether you grew up in a perfect household or a broken one. Nobody's never this true. So like, some people can help get you to understand that earlier than others, but we all still got to come to know that God is the true source of my value, because he's the one that paid for me. My earthly parents just got me here.
Yeah.
Just no matter what situation, whether it was through a one night stand or they got married and planned it, it doesn't matter. Understand that your personality and the things that God put in you, your parents didn't give you that. They had a little bit on certain things, but ultimately you're still your own. God gave you those things. God gave you those gifts. They came from God. They didn't, So we have to realize that. And God decided he wanted you here in this place, in this time, at this moment, because he knew you was worth it. That's what I'm saying. So you have to understand those things. But
so now that they know that they worth it, self-management, the practical things to handle the management of self.
So one thing is that I'm big on you got to become the person who can be around like-minded. In other words, if you become the person that you need to be around, it's like you'll do it. So here's the thing. Okay, so there's four phases of management. I haven't talked about this in a long time. This is so you got physical health, self-management, taking care of your body.
Yeah.
Then you have mental, taking care of your mind. And then you have emotional and spiritually.
Gotcha.
So all of those are the four different types and different levels of self-management. So we'll take about 5 more minutes and then we'll close it down. So understanding that what fills your emotional tank. So in other words, this is where you got to do some self-discovery, understanding what fills your emotional tank, what fills your mental tank. Some people is reading a book. Some people could be watching a movie. Some people is just taking a drive. Some people it could just be playing golf. Whatever it is, you got to find what fills your emotional tank. What fills your mental tank. Your spiritual tank. So meaning that your connection and relationship with God. having good people around you where you can say that, you know, we build each other up spiritually. Like we charge each other. We charge each other's faith. We, you know, when we get around, we talk with each other. We build each other's faith. So in other words, what builds me mostly. So what happened was when I went through this with my pastor, and he talked about it. So as leaders, you actually have to understand those are the 4 areas that you got to build yourself up, where you can be mentally spent, emotionally spent, physically tired. And you got to be able to know when it's time where you got to shut your mind down and not think about nothing and just, you know, find things that's going to build your mental tank. You got to find things that's going to build your emotional tank, things that make you feel good, things that, you know. So, and you got to learn. So basically, you got to take some time just to study yourself and find out what builds you up. Yeah. And then you got to put a plan in place and start putting some structures in place to make sure, like, when we give out
non-negotiables stuff, like your non-negotiables, these are the things that I have to make sure I need for me to be straight so I can be good for everybody else.
Yes. Right. So let's take a person playing sports where, let's say, nobody had no water or Gatorade on the side, and you just playing the whole game with no water, no Gatorade. How you think you're going to feel by fourth quarter?
Right.
Well, you're already going to be tired, but just think how much more you're going to be really at a disadvantage because you didn't take time to replenish.
Yeah.
That's why you sometimes you call timeouts. That's why they got halftime.
Right. Why?
Because we're taking time in the middle of a game of giving and taking and moving back and forth to rest.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of the game. So in other words, they even have structures in place to make sure you're resting and get replenished in the middle of a game so you can finish the game.
What about the people who don't want to sleep?
Then basically your body sometimes it will get sick, and it'll make you shut down and make you stop.
And that's me. Like, I sleep later. Like, you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But then I do find myself in situations where I'm down for a week. You know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. For the simple, like, I can go for probably 6 months. Well, probably like 4 months, but like 4 hours of sleep, just go, and then out of nowhere it'll be like boom, and then you just crash.
Yeah, like for me, working out, getting into the bodybuilding, it feeds me mentally. Like, I don't know, when I've done working out, my mind feels better.
Yeah, same.
You know, it's like it just helps with my mind. I can't even explain it. It's like, yeah, I'm just finished lifting weights, but mentally I feel better. Like I can just take on the world.
Because if you train in the right way, your mind is at work. Because once the body breaks, you got to mentally go like, no, we got more and we got a goal to accomplish. So then afterwards, you feel like you conquered yourself.
Yeah, it's probably that. All of those things.
That's how I feel when I get off the hill. Like,
yes, right. But I'm saying I know that fills me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it's something that, yes, I'm working out and it gives me some, but also it builds me up. Like it great for health management and mental management. Then like for me, then sometimes it's great where, you know, even though Michelle, like me, just have going into where I talk to Michelle, have my little personal Bible studies and stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just sharing what's on my mind, you know, mental. Like I'm saying you find your little spots where you begin to discover yourself or whatever. Like me taking a mental break from just thinking about finances and bills and church and budgets and all that.
Yeah.
I like getting into a good Netflix show. Why? It turns my mind off from thinking about all that kind of stuff. And I'm in the story that I only got to think about that stuff. In other words, it helps me give my mind a mental break. That's what I mean.
I go to the car wash. I don't know what it is about the car wash, but like when the kids jumped off the top rope and they knocked me out and I'm feeling like, all right, this is crazy. I be like, Lee, I gotta go. And she go, where you going? I gotta go work. I go to the car wash and I sit there and I just kind of like tune everything out. And then like once the car wash is done, I kind of sit in there, clean stuff up, you know what I'm saying? I just like get away from everything. It'd be like 30 minutes and then like clear my head, like no phone, maybe like some music playing. And then it's like a reset for me. Mm-hmm. And I try to go every day. Like literally every day.
Yeah, so from an educational standpoint, it just really built, but it's more like, I guess that's work. Like when I feed on the word, listen to the word, it doesn't always like, you know, fill me up per se.
Yeah.
But when I get into like praise and worship, and I just like get into like them deep spaces of just worshiping God, it builds me up spiritually. I don't know, just having that, knowing having those moments with God, it just, you know, fills my spiritual tank.
And all these things prepare you for like the battles of life.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's very hard, kind of like was it Bruce Lee? It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So like if you are prepared for the war once it shows up, you're not looking to establish a plan because you've already prepared for it, right? So, and I was just thinking about people in general who might be watching but currently battling something, like it's too late. But no, what do you say to the people like, well, I ain't prepared and I'm here now?
Yeah, you just gotta start somewhere. I mean, it's sometimes it's not always easy, but you gotta start somewhere. Even if you're building your house in the storm, you still gotta build it.
There you go.
You know, and so because again, there's I say next year's still coming, tomorrow's still coming.
Sure.
So it's obviously they say, man, it's gonna take 5 years. Well, 5 years we'll be here. Like, so you might as well start now. So you'd be better off 5 years instead of saying, well, I can't do it because 5 years. No, just do now because 5 years is still coming. Just say, just start somewhere. So I would just say this, and I remember my mother and talk with my dad one time, and I guess I learned a lot from that. Is there'll be times where my dad, he'd be good, he'd go along, and then like out of nowhere he'll just explode back in the day. And so what happened was that something bothered him, but he didn't process it on seed level. It built up and built up. So 6 months later, he blew up over something that was building for 6 months.
Right. Yep.
And so, which means that you got when you learn that about yourself, then you got to learn how to make sure you have structures in place to where, okay, I got to get this off me, so that way this doesn't turn into something where it comes off like I'm emotionally unstable for my family.
Yeah.
Because then now it's like, is he gonna blow up? Is he not going? Is he? What's
That's
gonna
communication
happen?
too, though. Like you gotta be able to have those conversations, and
right, and that's what goes back to that self-worth. You got to know that you're loved enough where somebody will hear you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think you're worth being heard, and a lot of times it creates, and that's the part we don't understand. It creates this thing of self-prophecy where, because it's like you're thinking you're not being heard. No, really, it's because you don't think you're worth being heard. So you're not really, your mind isn't wired to allow yourself to be heard the right way. Yeah, because so that's what I'm saying. That thing, man, that word self-worth, but it really controls a lot in how we process our communication, our relationships with people around us. It does.
Which is why it's important for the fathers to do their job. Because
that's why.
Without us doing our job at a young age too, because I forget, it's like the brain is in a state of, is either theta or something like that.
I don't know. I don't even want to answer because I could be lying.
From
saying
like
yes,
1 to 7, and then they are recording every single thing we do, and this is who you're creating. You know what I'm saying? So being present, understanding your emotions, being emotionally intelligent enough to put that plan together, and not allowing how you feel to dictate how you show up, is helping our babies understand their worth and their value because you're here. You know what I'm saying? And then you create that sense of stability like you was talking about. You're steady, and now I know that I have somebody I can call on, I can lean on, I can talk to, even if it's embarrassing. Like that's what the relationship with my baby, like, yo, you can talk to me about anything, but at the same time, it's still being able to walk that line of I'm still the law. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm in a space where I'm open, so you're not gonna get in trouble because you talk to me. It's just your consequences. Right from wrong, and that's with
Yes, sir. So good stuff. So I believe that you all truly been blessed by the information shared. So we're going to hit the pause button on this, and of course, we'll have you come back. We're going to. I feel like you opened up so many things. We'll come back and we're going to unpack some more of this stuff because I really feel like the people it'll be helpful, so helpful for people, because I feel like the things you're bringing up are good topics and good things that to unpack, because this is where people at. Like, we want to talk and give a biblical or godly perspective on stuff we deal with on an everyday basis. So, And with that being said, God bless everybody, and we'll see you here next time.
You're on the mic with Mike.
Thank you for joining Pastor Wayne Powell Sr. for this edition of Relationship Wednesday. We hope you enjoyed this episode of After I Did. Let's keep the conversation going by leaving your questions and comments in the chat. We also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you are reminded to join us next Wednesday as Pastor Wayne continues this discussion of After I Did.